So how does it impact the brain? How does anxiety impact the brain and the parts of the brain? First, you guys can see that there's a perceived threat. Okay, now if there's a perceived threat, so for example, I'm going to use the example. I was actually, I'll use it for me. I was bitten by a dog when I was a kid. Okay. And so, it wasn't horrible. It wasn't bad, but it was still, I was bitten by a dog. So after that, a dog could be, and there was when I would see a dog until I was reprogrammed, but when I would see a dog, that there was a perceived threat. And that perceived threat, that the thalamus in the front part sends that message and the amygdala immediately. So once we've experienced something, the amygdala actually responds and goes and searches out the environment before we're even there. So it goes ahead and searches out an environment. So that's why it's a subconscious response. It's not even something that we're consciously aware of. Once we've experienced a certain thing that was fear, that was scary or traumatic, so it goes ahead and it searches out and tells us, watch out. And it sends those signals to the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus sends the signals to the rest of the body. It says, watch out. Alarm goes, alarm goes off. And heart rate increases. Blood pressure increases. Digestion kind of shuts down, goes down, because the body is saying, we need all of the resources to deal with this threat. The immune system is suppressed.
So if you had a traumatic experience and your brain wants to protect you, does it sometimes block out that experience to keep you safe? Does that make sense? Yes.
So that would be the hippocampus part. So the hippocampus, I'll talk about the parts of the brain. So the amygdala enlarges, right? And it does that because it needs to be alert and aware, especially when there's been a lot of trauma. But when it's fear, it enlarges. So the amygdala. The hippocampus is the memory. That shrinks. And so that's why sometimes when there is anxiety, it can affect our memory, or where there's been trauma. There's kind of like, oh, well, I don't know if I remember. And some people have very little memory of their childhood or certain times in their childhood because that hippocampus shrinks. Now, when so the hippocampus does shrink, then the prefrontal cortex, right? The prefrontal cortex, which is the logic, the reasoning, the part that helps us to reason and to know, okay, no, you're safe. That actually goes offline because the amygdala will hijack. And then we got cortisol and norepinephrine, which are the stress hormones, right, being released. The cortisol gives us, it gives us the energy to mobilize and to do what we might have to do, right, to get out of the situation. The problem is, if we're not really in a threatening situation, and this is the problem with anxiety, that the body and the brain can be in this perpetual high alert, hypervigilant, compromising the immune system, compromising the prefrontal concentration, the ability to concentrate, and memory, the hippocampus, the ability to remember things. So a lot of times people are having some of these issues. These are symptoms affecting sleep as well, which also if your sleep is affected, then often the memory and concentration and focus will be impacted. So staying in these states for long periods of time can cause all kinds of issues in the body system, right? So that's why So yes, it can suppress the memory because again, that's adaptive in a sense, because if the brain will only allow us to remember, to see, to acknowledge, to know what it feels we can handle. A child sometimes cannot handle remembering specific details of abuse. So it'll go, okay, nope, we can't. This is too much. This is gonna let's go ahead and put this, compartmentalize, and let's separate this and put this over there. Another thing happens. Oh, nope, this is too much. Overwhelmed, we're overwhelmed. Let's go ahead, let's shut this down and put this over there. So all these, and this is a subconscious thing, right? This is not like a conscious thing. This is a subconscious thing. The problem is then later on, it starts, if it continues to be suppressed throughout life, then it starts to come out. It can start to come out sideways in other ways, through dreams, and this is where, through nightmares, or through the body, through the soul. So different ways if it's not eventually addressed. Okay. So that's